Hey there, this is Matt at State of Flux here with another review from Everyone's a Critic, the 52-week movie challenge. We are on challenge number 49, a film based around a religion. The movie I chose, The Last Temptation of Christ. Year released 1988 with an aspect ratio of 1.851 and a runtime of 2 hours and 43 minutes. Genre is a drama fantasy, rated R, starring Willem Dafoe, Harvey Keitel, Barbara Hershey, Harry Dean Stanton, and a stealth David Bowie performance. That was fun. Directed by Martin Scorsese, produced by Universal Pictures, written by Paul Schrader, based on the book by Nikos Kazantzakis? Zakis? Sorry, I ludicrously ruined that. Music by Peter Gabriel. Awards received, it was only nominated for one Academy Award, only one, and that was for Best Director, which is incredibly unusual. I can't think of another film that has only had one nomination and it being director. Usually if somebody's nominated, or a movie's nominated for director, that movie will be nominated for at least something else. Why did I choose this particular film? And I'm going to couple this in with the next question. Have I seen this movie before? I've never seen it. This one's always been on the back burner. I'm a big fan of Kevin Smith, and he highly recommends this movie and has done so for years. But I've had this one on the back burner not only because he recommended it, but because I'm not a huge Martin Scorsese fan. I'm just not. Usually the movies that I'm told I will love and are classics and stuff, I get why they are classics, but they're just not my cup of tea. And his filming style, well, I respect, just isn't, it doesn't gel with me, with who I am and what interests me about films and movies and stuff like that. So for that reason, it's always been one that I've kind of had sitting back there, always wanted to see. I even purchased it for the Criterion Collection. I got it for my birthday, and just had never watched it. This felt like a perfect opportunity to do so. Would I recommend the film? Why or why not? This is, without question, my favorite Martin Scorsese film. This is a fantastic movie. It's incredibly compelling, easily the best depiction of Jesus' story that I've ever seen put to film, with shockingly good performance by Willem Dafoe. Now, it's not shocking because it's Willem Dafoe. He's an incredible actor. It's shocking because I don't know who looks at Willem Dafoe and is like, Jesus. That just doesn't gel with me. I look at Willem Dafoe and I'm like, madman. But I digress. He is perfect in this movie, perfect for this movie, and outside of the fact that he does not fit the proper race of who Jesus would have been, he is great for what this movie is going for and what it's trying to accomplish. I really liked that. And the same can be said for pretty much everybody in the cast. This is a completely whitewashed cast for a film set in, Israel and stuff like that. And Jerusalem and whatnot. That said, it's everybody in the cast is great. Harvey Keitel is great. He was nominated for a Razzie of all things, and I don't know how off base they were. He's great in this film, as Harvey Keitel often is. And there's little sprinklings of great performances throughout, oftentimes only coming from a single scene. Irvin Kershner, director of The Empire Strikes Back, has a pretty prominent scene where he's really good, and the only reason I realized that it was Irvin Kershner is I've watched The Empire Strikes Back and the audio commentary for it several times, and upon watching the scene, I'm like, that dude sounds like Irvin Kershner. There's no way that that's him. And I looked him up, and sure enough, that's Irvin Kershner. Harry Dean Stanton has the best scene in the movie. I mentioned before I liked David Bowie's scene. He's really good in it, essentially a nothing but important role, and he's great. But Harry Dean Stanton steals the show. He's in like a handful of scenes, but has one moment to shine, completely stealing the entire film from everybody. And Harry Dean Stanton's one of those actors that was, rest his soul, he is just perfect in everything he's in. And this is a showcase of his ability. I do not know how he did not get nominated for Best Supporting Actor. He is that good in this one scene that basically dismantles the Jesus the man versus Jesus the monolith that he has become, a person who is able to sustain an entire belief structure and religion around him. And when he meets the elder Jesus, it's a work of art. That scene is so well performed and informative of everything around this movie. Now, this movie gets a lot of undue criticism, and I say it's undue criticism because it's considered by many to be blasphemous, and I don't understand how that holds water whatsoever. It gives you a what-if story. It follows pretty fundamentally the story of Jesus to a point, and the point is he, well up on the cross, gets a moment of reprieve and gets to experience life, and gets to live on as a man and not the Christ that we are familiar with. And we are taken through that spectacular journey of his life after the cross. And that was magnetic. However, the way that the film ultimately ends makes all of those blasphemous scenes completely not so. So I don't understand how this is not the perfect reinforcement of the Christian tradition. It is a refutation of everything that people hurl at this movie, and it's as if they didn't watch it, and you know what? Probably didn't watch it, or they watched to a point, turned it off because this is blasphemous, and it's not true, not at all. This movie is probably or possibly the best version of the Jesus story I've ever seen put to film. It is well written, especially well acted, and the whole what if journey, really this movie's purpose is to, Jesus under the Christian tradition is the Son of God, but also the son of a human, and looks at Jesus through those two lenses and takes the time to look at the godlike man that Jesus was, or the God-made man that Jesus was, as well as taking the time to look at Jesus as the man that is living in a world created by a God. You know what I mean? And the movie takes the time to really focus on the human element, and that's the thing that's always been of interest, and what people like most about Scorsese's works is he is great at capturing the human condition and putting it on film. And sometimes I respond well to it. Oftentimes his movies just don't really speak to me on any level, because oftentimes he chooses to focus his lens at the ugliness of humanity. And that's captured in here. The Jesus story is quite an ugly one, but I'm also a person that is instilled with a very firm belief of hope, optimism, and love. And the main character, unlike your Travis Bickles or anything like that in his other works, is the Jesus of this film is a hopeful Jesus, even though he is struggling to carry that hope and optimism and love. So in capturing the human condition in this film, I feel like that's where it rubs Christians the wrong way, because it's everything that Harry Dean Stanton says. He's this monolith. with which we can hang around a belief structure, and that belief structure is unfallible and whatnot, and to see the man is like a disappointment and whatnot, and like that scene is perfect and is the crux of why this movie works so well. And if you watch nothing else, just watch that one scene. It's so perfect, so well written, has everything it needs to say about religion and Christianity and dogma, while also examining very human reality, like on a base level. So there you have. I'm going to move on because I've been talking a little much. Which character were you most able to identify with or connect with, and in what way? I guess it'd be Jesus. I'm also a person that is a hopeful, optimistic individual that is confronted constantly with a world that makes it hard to live life as such. But you find ways to kind of keep that going on and to build people up and not tear people down, and I think that's important in your own structured morality, regardless of your belief structure within like religious connotations. It's important to just treat people humanely, even if they aren't necessarily deserving of that on a societal level, or society believes that they aren't deserving of that. That's something that I kind of have always professed in my day-to-day life, and I thought it was captured well in this. Best line or most memorable quote? There's a lot of them. This movie has a lot of quotes. Throughout the film I was noticing like little quotes that I've seen in other movies, including several that were, like I just did a career retrospective of Kevin Smith's, and there's at least 3 lines in this movie that are repeated in various Kevin Smith works. There's one woman with many faces line is the one that comes to mind. Were you surprised by the ending? What would you do differently? I suspected the ending. I thought we were going to get a whole occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge, and that was essentially what we got. However, the way we got that to happen was surprising. I did not foresee that aspect of it. And I really appreciated it and how it directly ties into the title, The Last Temptation of Christ. It's great. The last 45 minutes of this movie are the best 45 minutes of this movie, without question, and that's probably the stuff that is the most controversial. However, if you stick it out and listen to what the movie is saying and whatnot, I don't understand how you could be upset with it, even if it is picking apart religion on some respect. It also is weirdly reinforcing it. It's kind of like the best of both worlds, depending on your viewpoint. You should, regardless, come away satisfied if you are a firm believer or a firm anti-believer. What is the religion featured? How familiar are you with this religion? It's Christianity, and they touch in Judaism, obviously. Jesus was a Jew. And I was raised Catholic, softly, and so I was familiar with it and whatnot. I was never a churchgoer or anything like that, but the film captures my experience with being raised Catholic to like a perfect extent. I would rather show, like, if I were showing somebody a movie about the death of Jesus, and the death and rebirth and all that kind of stuff, I'd much rather show them this than Passion of the Christ. Not anything particularly wrong with Passion of the Christ as a film. It's relatively solid. It does like go out of its way to kind of hate Jesus and over violence him. This movie tames that back quite a bit, but I think it captures the sentiment of the story better, and more powerfully, and that's where I kind of land with that. Was the religion represented well, or do you feel it was embellished to create a more entertaining story? Yes and yes. It was handled well and embellished, and it's through that embellishment that we get a compelling movie in that final 45 minutes, but you need that 2-hour journey to get there to earn those 45 minutes. If this movie had just started with him on the cross and then had him pulling himself down and given the life, the movie isn't earned. We need to experience this man's journey to get there, and like Willem Dafoe excellently carries this film. And it's one that one of his best performances, I would have to say. And this is a man who's had stunning performances, Oscar-nominated performances. This one shocks me that he didn't get a nomination. I feel like that's cowardice on the film industry for not really backing this, because they didn't want to get like the Catholic churches or whatever to come at them. Anything else I would like to add? Not really. This is my favorite Scorsese movie. That's not necessarily a high bar to cross for me, but this is, like, if I were to make a list of my favorite films of 1988 or something like that, this would probably be firmly up there in my top 5, maybe even top 2, or if gun to head, number 1, honestly. I was really incredibly impressed with this film, and one that I'm interested in revisiting again now that I know the entire trajectory of the feature. And that's something that I thought about doing like my top 5 for each year or whatever, and revisit some of these movies. But as of now, that's where I land. This is an excellent movie, an easy 4-star movies. One of the favorites that I've discovered from doing this movie challenge. And we are coming to the end, folks. I'm going to give you a tease for next week. A film celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. So that would be 1972. Okay, I think I know what movie I'm going to do. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. Let me know if you what you thought of this movie in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. Peace.